Hey, what is going on, guys? We have YouTuber here, back with another video, and this is the Seal of Orichalcos. As we know, the Seal of Orichalcos will be released very, very soon. A lot of people are underestimating the actual power of this card and how potentially overpowered it can be in a duel. People are mainly focusing on the limitations of its effects and how it destroys those special summon monsters, and it doesn't allow you to special summon monsters from your extra deck. But there are so many decks which can get around it. And so in this video, I'm going to be going through the effects of the card, as you can see listed here, and how certain decks, I'm only going to be naming 2 or 3, can actually get around the extra deck woes of the card and still be extremely effective. So the effects are as follows: destroy all special summon monsters when it's activated. The special summon monsters that you control. So that is a limitation, but if your deck doesn't special summon monsters, as I've said, it's not going to matter. All monsters you control gain 500 attack. That is just like amazing. It's simple yet effective. It brings everything. It gives like a lot. It brings a Lila up to 2200. It brings whatever, you know, anything you can think of. A Spirit Reaper attacking your opponent directly up to 800. It doesn't seem like much, but these things all add up. Monsters can be special summoned from the extra deck. That is probably the biggest limitation and the thing that people talk about the most when they read this card and they say, the card isn't good. But that's because they're thinking about it in terms of the decks that they run, which I presume use a lot of cards from the extra deck. So if you just avoid doing that, you can, still use the card quite effectively. Monsters with the lowest attack cannot be targeted for attacks. That's just a really trolly aspect of the card, I find, because even if the monster you're protecting with the lowest attack doesn't actually have that low of an attack power, if there's even one monster on the field that has higher attack than it, your opponent can't target it. So that's what makes it good. You don't need to think about it in a really complex, profound way or anything. You just need to say, you can protect your lower monsters. So it's awesome. Once returned, this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. That is perhaps the best effect of any effect of a field spell I've seen in a long time, perhaps ever. Basically, your opponent has to destroy the card twice in order to get rid of it. On the downside, you also have to destroy it twice if you want to get rid of it, but you just build your deck around cards that don't use the extra deck, like I have said before. The only time when I can imagine this would have been a worse card is when Giant True Name was still around. They could bounce the card back to your hand, and you won't be able to activate it again, since you can only activate it once per duel. And that is the last effect of the card. It can only be activated once per duel. Once you've activated it, that's it. So for that reason, you're only going to run one copy of the card, which is why I suggest building your deck not around the Seal of Orichalcos, but placing the Seal of Orichalcos in around the deck. It's just a nice tech card to put in those decks that don't rely too heavily on the extra deck. Okay, so we are back. So now we are going to look at some of the decks that the Seal of Orichalcos can be used with. There are only 3 off the top of my head that I can think of. So the first one we're going to be looking at is Rockstun. It's become quite popular as of late due to the release of Revival Golem, as well as a lot of other support for the rock archetype in general. So basically, these are all 1900 beaters, and they all negate various effects. As you know, I mean, everyone knows about this deck. But the Seal of Orichalcos would allow them all to be 2400 attack monsters. Most importantly, they don't XYZ too often. Now, in fairness, there's only going to be one seal in the deck, so if they draw it, all fine and good, it will give them an extra boost. But if they don't draw it, then there's no issue with that either. They would also main deck Skill Drain, which means that they could run the likes of Beast King Barbaros and things like that. I'm not sure if they would actually go and do that. I haven't actually looked at many Rockstone builds that have been successful at YCS events and so forth, but I'll be sure to look out for a few and see if when the Seal of Orichalcos comes out, they will start using it. The only issue might be if it conflicts with Block Golem. In other words, if they have a seal on the field, they draw into Block Golem. Fair enough, they'll be able to bring out 2 monsters, 2400 attack, that's amazing. But they may need to XYZ into something in order to protect themselves. And obviously they won't be able to do that. So that is the only issue I could really think of. And the second deck, also revolving around Skill Drain, is the Malefic Skill Drain deck, which does consistently top at events, so that is actually really, really good and well established. So obviously you just get your Malefic Stardust out on the field. It protects the Seal of Orichalcos from being destroyed. So if once per turn not being able to be destroyed by card effects wasn't bad enough, if it can't be destroyed at all, it's just like amazing. Malefic Stardust Dragon will be a 3000 beater. You'll pretty much be able to attack over everything. And yeah, it'll be really, really effective. And all you need to do is play the Seal of Orichalcos, special summon the Malefic Stardust Dragon, and just like kick some ass, basically. Quick, give him a safe zone or something. I don't know. Be crazy. Then Deep Prison wouldn't touch him, Bottoms wouldn't touch him, Torrential wouldn't touch him. Ha ha ha. Invincible. Third deck is Lightsworns. People are kind of looking at me weird because I do include Lumina in these 3 Lightsworn monsters I've selected as examples. And very often someone will go Lumina into a Necro Gardener, or Lumina into another Lumina, for discarding a Necro Gardener or whatever, and they will then overlay into like a Zen Mains or a Leviathan Dragon or something like that. They obviously wouldn't have that option if Seal of Orichalcos was in their deck. But again, my justification is that it's just one spell card. It's not going to change everything, you know? And it would be really, really effective. I mean, it would bring all of their Lightsworn monsters up to a decent attack power. Lila, for example, would go up to 2200 attack points. Jane, in particular, would go up to 2600 while attacking a monster. I mean, that enables it to attack over the likes of Dalka, Lagia, and in the Rescue Rabbit decks, and as well as a bunch of other decks too. So it's really, really effective. I just put Raikou there because, you know, he's part of the milling engine, but he doesn't benefit from the seal all that much. 700 points. Finally, Chaos Dragon's my sort of pet deck for a long time, since June, basically. Yeah, I very rarely XYZ in that deck at all, unless I go first turn Tour Guide into a Zen Mains or something. But if I do that, and I take the Seal of Orichalcos, all that's going to happen is Zen Mains is going to detach a material. If my opponent has nothing on their field, he's going to attempt to destroy something. He attempts to destroy the seal. It doesn't get destroyed. And, I mean, obviously it's not ideal for him to be down a material after turn 1. But he'll be like a 2000 beater. I mean, how cool is that? 2000 attack Zen Mains. Attack over that Thunder King Ryo or whatever. And I put BLS there because imagine BLS with Seal of Orichalcos, 3500 attack. As if 3000 attack wasn't bad enough. 3500 attack would just be amazing. Chaos Dragons can work around special summoning monsters from their extra deck perhaps better than the other 2 decks. Or 2 or 3 decks that I have included there. Simply because they have so many big beaters that are big already that don't depend on the presence of anything else, like a field spell or the normal summoning of a block golem or something like that, or having Lightsworns engraved like a Judgment Dragon. That being said, they do have actually a bad matchup against Lightsworns, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I might make a video about it at some point. But in any case, those are the kinds of decks, and I say kinds of decks because decks that don't rely on the extra deck that would do well with the Seal of Orichalcos. So I very much look forward to seeing how this card will do. And I'm going to leave the video there, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the Seal of Orichalcos. Are there any other decks that you have thought of that you can use the card in? I think it is a really promising field spell card. And it's been kind of waiting to be released for a long time. I just was wondering what Konami were going to do with it. They did say that they were trying to balance the card out, which is of course fair enough. And we'll just have to see how it is used in competitive play. Anyway guys, as I said, comment, rate, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. I am Wheel the YouTuber and I am signing out. Peace.